Okay, welcome back. This is Jason Kryzak, co-founder of Radiant Family, and we've been delving into a series of talks based upon the law of attraction in relationship to Carl Vell's Orgone Generators. You can get more information on the Orgone Generators at orgonegenerator.com, and you can read up on these amazing devices there. So we've covered a number of points in relationship to manifesting and co-creation with life, some of the pitfalls, and basically how the radionics and the orgonite that have been merged into these beautiful devices, how it works in unison with the law of attraction, basically improving and bolstering one's ability to bring in a more fruitful life, really help co-create our truest heart's desire, which is to really find our purpose in life and to discover what it is to live a more abundant, affluent life. So I'm really excited about today's talk because we're going to be getting into more of the meat of the how-to around the law of attraction and a step-by-step process that each one of us can use in the co-creative function of working with the Orgone Generators and the law of attraction. So basically what we have is the most important and critical aspect is really understanding the framework of what you're looking for. So that's pretty clear. Having a clear understanding about what it is that you're wanting to co-create with life, having a practical relationship with that understanding and where it fits into your life. Because the higher we shoot off the bat, the more energy and the more time it typically takes to start to shift our own actions, our own consciousness, and move that shift into unison with what we're looking to generate. So basically, if you're looking at the co-creative process, you're going to start with a basic piece of paper, just any notebook. Just get some paper, and you want to get a blue pen. A lot of the elite groups are using blue because the color blue actually focuses on a part of the brain and the way the brain works that has to do with shifting consciousness. So on a quantum level, the color blue actually associates with the quantum field. And we can actually see this is coded even into certain songs. Somewhere over the rainbow I see blue skies, where all the dreams you dare to dream actually do come true. Now that was a beautiful song, and there was a message coded into that, and basically speaking about the rainbow being the physical world, and over the rainbow being over the perception of what we believe is possible. There are blue skies where the dreams that you actually dare to dream come true. Now if we take that back into the element of the quantum field itself is in the blue spectrum, and that's how consciousness shifts from one perspective to another perspective, because the law of attraction, ultimately when it comes down to it, is about perspective. How you're seeing life, what you start to see shifts. And when what you're seeing shifts within your own consciousness, then matter and energy change. And that's how we change our paradigm. You can also see this in the particle accelerator in Lucerne. The entire accelerator is one giant, massive collider that has a huge, it's like a tube, and it has rings of this cobalt blue all around the entire accelerator. Part of that is that the quantum physicists understand that the spectrum that changes matter and helps if we want to talk about the wave function collapse, many people who are listening might understand that matter exists as a particle or a wave, and actually exists as both. I should say energy is a wave, matter is a particle. So as we're shifting from one paradigm to another paradigm, then basically that which is a wave is that spectrum of a quantum field. And then when we start to focus in on a new paradigm, that starts to collapse into a particle. So that actually starts to turn into physical reality. So what we focus on, and here's where the devices come in, focusing that energy long enough with enough balanced, constant, co-creative force that the Orgone Generators are constantly producing, starts to take the wave function, actually starts to collapse it into the particle, which is what we'll actually see in our life as the change, you see. Because everything is constantly acting both as a wave and as a particle. And that's why everything is constantly in flux. Nothing ever stays the same, you see. So the consistency is to keep that orgone energy going constantly, and then start to allow it to reform itself, that co-creative energy, into a new manifestation, which would be a new pattern in our lives. So getting back to the blue pen, you're going to take your paper, your notepad, and start to write in an affirming tense. So basically affirming something as though it's already happening. You're going to write that in the blue. And basically authenticity within your statement is very, very critical. So one of the first guidelines within this is being authentic with whatever you're asking for. And by authenticity, meaning what's the real reason that you're actually asking for it? A lot of people might say that they want to have, say, better finances because of A, B, and C, but they might be actually missing that the actual authentic reason might be actually different than what they've told themselves. So I'll give a basic little story about that. This is actually a true story. There was a neurosurgeon who was deeply involved with the law of attraction, and he had learned how to manifest very quickly and shift realities very quickly. So it was giving him a lot of success in his work. He was actually helping a lot of people. Again, coming back to the aspect of looking to be of service is really huge in the law of attraction, because then that's also creating a larger continuum of co-creative energy that starts to synergize with you. And so he had a patient come in, and this patient was not responding to treatment. Things were going very poorly. And so he started to focus in on having the patient come around and come full circle, to heal. And he started to apply the why. Why is it that I want this? Well, because I really want this patient to heal. I really want to help people. And nothing was shifting. And then he realized, okay, no, actually, I need to be authentic about why I want this. And what it really came down to was he didn't want a tarnished record. He didn't want his record as a medical professional to be tarnished, because he realized that with a tarnished record, he would have less availability to the masses. He'd have less availability to help more and more people. So that might sound selfish. It actually wasn't. It was actually focusing on the authenticity of why. So when you start delving into the authenticity of why you want something, you actually might shift your focus, because you actually might come down to, okay, so I want, say, a better car. And then you say, well, it's because I I want a car that's going to perform better. It's going to last longer. And then that shift might not be happening. You might come down to it. Why do I really want a better car? Well, just because I want better status. I want people to think better of me. And then within that might not resonate the same way. So this is how we actually can start to shift and be really clear about what we're really trying to co-create in our life, is by being really authentic. So then the next step is knowing the power of forgiveness. So we've outlined the framework of what it is that you're looking to co-create. You've outlined the authenticity of the why behind it, and you're really standing within that true authenticity. And then you're really sinking into next forgiveness. And why forgiveness around the law of attraction? Because when we're holding on to issues, it might be that we want to create, say, a harmonious relationship. But we haven't forgiven our ex-partner. We haven't forgiven things that other people have said and done. And then all of that energy is still acting in the subconscious mind as a black hole. It's draining. So all of that extra orgone energy that the body's producing is actually going into a subconscious war with someone who might not even be anywhere in your consciousness any longer. They might not be a part of your life whatsoever any longer. So to forgive, the actual meaning of forgiveness means before the action or thought. So forgiveness doesn't mean becoming a doormat. It doesn't mean allowing poor behavior to continue. It actually means that you're shifting your focus for yourself back to the way you were experiencing life before the betrayal, before the wrongdoing, whatever it might have been. And then that shift of consciousness, suddenly you have a fresh, bright outlook, and everything, like walls, are dropping all around you, and everything starts to look fresh and bright again. And again, the more open, the more fresh, and the more alive you are, the more attractive that is to the whole world. So knowing the power of forgiveness is very, very critical. So outlining those basic fundamentals where, say, it's about money, and you feel like you've been robbed or you've been shorted in relationship to your financial outlook on life, what's happened. A lot of people feel that way right now. So forgiving not only those we feel who are taking advantage in the world, but also forgiving ourselves. And that might be around relationship. And that's the second aspect, is forgiving yourself. So forgiving the outlook around, say, it's money. We're looking at where have we been robbed, where have we been slighted, or who do we believe is really taking advantage of us on a financial level. Okay? Now, forgiving those people, again, and I'll continue to reinforce that, doesn't mean that you're turning a blind eye to bad behavior or criminal activity. It doesn't mean that you're saying it's okay. It means that you're exonerating yourself of that horrendous pressure that you're holding on to. And then suddenly there's wide open blue skies and fresh perspective has come into your world. And that's forgiveness. See, then you can also take the proper actions in a much more clear way when you have forgiven. Just the actions aren't coming out of hatred. And when that deep anger, that hatred is not present, all of that energy is freed up to become a co-creative force. So hugely important. And then within that, also forgiving ourselves, where I felt like a failure, where I felt like I have perhaps wronged other people. It could be in relationships, it could be financially, whatever it is. Forgive yourself. Because if we hold on to hatred toward ourselves for things that have been in the past, then that's also a huge drain. And part of forgiving yourself is making amends. So in making amends, it doesn't mean that you have to go and grovel. It doesn't mean that you have to go and suck up to people that you wouldn't really want to be in relationship with. It just simply means that you're looking at where the wrongdoing was, and you might even write a letter of amends to someone and burn it. You see? Or you might send it to someone, you might speak to someone personally. It really is all within the synchronicity of your own experience. So it's not an equation that can just be set in stone. It means that you're actually moving with the dance of life, and you're really engaging what it is to make amends, which is a huge part of forgiving yourself and forgiving others. And out of that, you steadily start to feel a lot of gratitude. So that's the next aspect of this law, which is to start to feel gratitude. It's pure co-creative energy in action. That's what gratitude really is. It's a sense of feeling and recognizing where you already are what you're looking for. You already have what you're looking for. It doesn't mean we're not going to continue to create, continue to manifest and generate more and more beautiful realities for ourselves, and then also allowing that to fan out and help the world. It means that you're starting to experience, my God, this is so beautiful. My life is so abundant. And you're starting to feel that in your heart. And the act of gratitude and feeling gratitude, it starts to, we'll say, it starts to cut away the malignancy of entitlement, because entitlement is one of the most destructive forces in the world. The sense of the world owes me, or I deserve. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And so the more we feel entitled, the more we dump a huge amount of radiant energy into a black hole. And that just compresses us. It contracts our world. So in the state of pure gratitude, you can just take a moment, and regardless of your situation, you can start to feel simple gratitude and just pick anything. It might be any aspect of your life that you just simply getting into that framework of gratitude. It doesn't have to be that I feel grateful about A, B, or C. If you're financially challenged, if you have relationship challenges, you might not necessarily feel grateful about that, but you're finding a place where you feel, well, perhaps you feel grateful that you have the capacity now to start to co-create with life, to start to shift the situation or the paradigm you're in to a higher vantage point. You see, so we're getting in touch with that thread, even if it's a very fine thread of gratitude. You start to feel thankful. So then now we're getting into the actual the visualization part of the exercise, which is to actually visualize what you've written down in blue in color. So you want to visualize that beautiful partner, that financial abundance, say helping others might be part of it. Visualizing helping to work with people who are troubled, uplift them, whatever it might be. Visualizing whatever it is in color, and then feeling it as though you have it now. So take a moment to try that. Just for a moment, just feeling in to whatever you're visualizing. You're visualizing it on the right side of your body perceptions. So within the framework, you're actually visualizing it on the right side of your body. And there's a reason for that. Because the right side of the body has to do with the liver. The liver facilitates chi in the body. So chi is how we move the vital force, the orgone energy. That's how we facilitate. It has to do with the left brain, which is detail-oriented. That's how we get things done. The left side of the body has to do with the right brain. It has to do with everything that is functioning to forgive, accept, and move and allow into our perception. And you can even see this in the ancient statues of the Far East. Sometimes it's Ganesha, and then other statues. You'll see the right hand is up and it's pushing forward as though the palm is facing toward you, and the left hand is fundamentally palm out as though it's accepting. So the mystics that made these statues also understood neurophysiology before there was any way to scientifically know these facts. So the accepting of the new paradigm coming from the right brain, the left side of the body, because it cross-communicates, it's cross-wired, and then the right hand pushing forward, which is cutting blockages, cutting attachments, and moving forward. It's saying no to what's wrong, what is not acceptable, and then so we're accepting and we're rejecting at the same time, rejecting what's not right for us, accepting what is right for us. And those two start to merge into the center, and that's what we call samadhi. So in the sense of samadhi, it's the whole brain being activated. And then we find that stillness in the heart, and those are the beings that can reach those high levels of consciousness. That's when manifestation starts taking on an entirely different framework. It goes into a much, much greater fundamental framework of accelerated speed and satisfaction. So they're feeling that whole brain communication. It is complete satisfaction. So in relationship to this simple exercise, we're just looking at visualizing in color whatever it is that you're looking to create on the right side, the right perception of the body, and feeling it in your heart, feeling the sensation and the emotion of that you've already got it. And this is again where we're forgiving ourselves, because if we have a low self-esteem, if we feel poorly about ourselves, if the mind is saying, oh, you don't deserve that, and then it's hard to feel that you have it because you're feeling lack. So that's the first thing we want to cut. If it's difficult to cut that, just as an exercise, work on gratitude, going back to gratitude, because the more you can feel that, the more that the sense of low self-esteem, of I don't deserve, I'll never get it, I'm always the one that's left out, that starts to be eliminated. Okay? So then that is the feeling aspect of it, the visualization aspect of it, and you have it deeply moving into the organic, visceral body sensation. You see? And this is all, mind you, what you've written is being put on the trend plate on the Orgone Generator, along with the target or what you wish to manifest. That's also put on the trend plate. So that's basically a 1 or 2 silver plates. Like with the Rad 5, you can actually put up to 5 different targets and 5 different trends. So again, the trend is how it's going to happen. That's what you're writing down in the basically in the tense that it is already created. And yet you're writing down how it's going to happen and even how it feels. You see? And that's a very powerful adjunct to the target, which is what you are going to be creating. So those are placed on the trend plate, and then of course the structural link, which are the 3 dials, you dial it in. Basically you're focusing on that link to connect the target to the trend. So you're co-creating, you're working within yourself with this law, step by step as I've described it here. And then at the same time, the Orgone Generator is going to be holding that energy constantly. So when you do write the trend, in other words, the authentic, clear framework of what you're looking for and how that's going to come about, basically, you're doing it in a state of gratitude, and you want to wait until you're in you want to be alone, because you don't want to be around a lot of people who are influencing you or naysaying or trying to influence what you're saying. You want to take time to be alone, and then you want to be also in a space where you're having a good day. You want it to be a good day. You want to be in a good mood when you do it, so that when you're writing it down, you're not writing it down in the sense of desperation or lack, because we don't want to be putting the vibration, because as you write, it's actually putting a vibratory essence into the paper. So even if we're in difficult circumstances, wait until you have a moment where you're feeling a little bit of that space to breathe. Start to feel the gratitude. Start to write down in authenticity what it is that you're looking for, which is the trending of how it's going to come about also. And then you have the actual picture of what it is. And you want to avoid using any pictures that are corporate advertising. So you don't want to just cut, say, a picture of a supermodel out of a magazine, because a lot of that has a lot of layered energies inside of it that you don't want to bring into your life. You don't want to connect with that. You want it to be clean. So you're finding something that is a rather abstract, something that's coming out of a picture that you've taken or a friend has taken, something that it doesn't have a lot of agendas already put onto it. That's really important. And then you're taking the target and the trend, you're putting it on the plate, you're structurally linking the two of them together, and then the radionics device is basically folding and collapsing, if I can use this word, the space-time continuum. So it's collapsing into 0 point, which is then actually creating a non-local field, which means that it's actually picking up the biophotons of the photograph of the target and the energy of gratitude and delight and joy that you've put into writing the trend. And then those two coalesce. They come together, and the structural link connects them, and then suddenly it's dovetailing and it's merging directly with what it is that you're wanting to create, and it's starting to influence that object, that paradigm, with this pure life force energy and the framework, which is basically a birthing point to a new reality. And then without being manipulative, it's giving a suggestion. And then that target or that desired outcome, what you're looking to create, within its own free will, mind you, can start to move in synchronicity with you. So it's like you're coming into synchronicity by bringing your own life energy into alignment with the dimension and the paradigm of what you're looking to create. And as this process continues, you might find that as we've spoken of in some of the previous talks, some things will come up that you'll actually see as roadblocks, and then you'll start to work on those roadblocks first. And you'll continue to use the same pattern of what I have described here. And you'll basically allow those roadblocks to be removed, and then you'll go back to the original trend and the original target. And then you'll find that starts to come and coalesce into your life much more quickly. In fact, often what happens with this is you find that the original target starts to fade in your interest, and you actually find that what you're receiving, especially if it's service to others, what you're receiving is even better than you had hoped. And I really want that to sink in, because service to self, if we're using it just to serve ourselves, then there will also be the sense of lack inside of that, and it'll be a heavier feeling and more of a desperate feeling of I just want to have this pleasure or this sensation. And it won't really have a definable reason behind it necessarily, you see. And so that will be a much more ambiguous, sticky, and less satisfying manifestation. Whereas when we're serving others, we're serving the world, what we're targeting, what we're really wanting, sometimes, as I was saying, that falls away, and what we find is that what we're getting is even better even better than what we had hoped. And ultimately, that's the end goal anyway. Let life surprise you. Let it be even better than you could imagine, because that is absolutely possible. And I know Nick has experienced this, and I've experienced this. So I can speak with confidence that when we're not just looking to self-serve, when we're using this powerful cosmic law, then it engenders trust in others. It helps others realize that actually we have their best interests at heart as well. And then within that, everything that we really want on every visceral level, it starts to also manifest. So it's a win-win situation for everyone, and therefore it becomes sustainable. So again, continuing to have the feeling of having it already. Very, very, very important. We have the generator going, and then basically giving praise. This is a very important aspect, giving gratitude and praise to that co-creative life function. If you feel your mind is more scientific, you might just call it the cosmic law, the cosmic co-creative law. You can give gratitude and praise back to that co-creative law, and the fact that you even have the capacity in this lifetime to know what that law is. That's a huge gift. So really praising that. If you feel more spiritually centered, praising the divine. Because the cosmic law and the divine, we could say that they're very, very close in unison. What we call the cosmic law is how the whole cosmos works. It's a very mysterious law. And yet, in a non-conceptual way, all beings are using that law, but they're just not using it consciously. So the more you show gratitude and praise for that law, or that divine essence, the more you're actually coming in unison with the direct knowledge of that. And then that is starting to actualize very quickly what it is that you're looking to actualize, not in a selfish way, but because you're actually coming into alignment with that framework. All right, then perhaps one of the most important elements of this entire process is detachment. So once the prayer or intention has been co-created, once you have activated the Orgone Generator, and you've got the target and the trend, and you have the framework within yourself, and you're feeling the gratitude, you want to let it go and let it grow. So basically you're releasing it, because that is, as I had spoken in a previous talk, if we're doggedly focused on A, B, or C being the end result, we miss the process. And if you're missing the process with anything, you're actually missing the next step of how that's actually going to come about. And sometimes that might be because of boredom. We want it to happen faster. We think it should be happening on our time frame, etc. You see, and then of course the fast-paced society and world we're a part of. It's very easy to start to feel like, well, okay, it's been 3 days. It's been a week. I still don't see what I want. Obviously, this generator or this law is not working for me. But that might be very much that we are either shooting for a mark that's way too high, like I want to date a movie star, or I want to be a multi-billionaire, and we don't have $1,000 in our bank account, you see. So we want to shoot for first things that we know are going to be within a framework that isn't going to be frustrating to us. We don't want to be delusional about what we're asking for, because the device is not going to just magically manifest it for you. It is a tool. This is something Nick has spoken about. It is a tool that helps to accelerate a function that is actually a birthright within you. You know, that's a really critical thing to know. So then the aspect of detachment is that you're allowing this to rest now, And then those co-creative, coalescent forces, suddenly you start seeing things show up. Certain things avail themselves to you. You start to see through places where you've been dishonest with yourself, perhaps where you've been sabotaging yourself, relationships that are possibly sabotaging your success. And then you can start to actually work with the Orgone Generators to then remedy those issues. Or you might have something unexpected comes up, an opportunity comes up, and it's not what you were targeting, but you're trusting the process. So the opportunity, you take it to see where it goes, because this is also about the magic of exploration. If you look at a child, for instance, the wonder and the magic in a child's eyes, everything is fresh. Everything is beautiful. They're experiencing the beauty of life moment by moment. And you can see that the pure innocence of that, it draws so much energy. So many people around just want to help, and they just want to support that child. So that is a huge aspect. If you feel like you can't be detached from it, okay, so say we're having a dire situation and you can't just detach from the sense of, I've got to get out of this trouble I'm in, or I've got to make my rent. My rent is due in 3 days, and I don't know if I can make it, whatever it might be. Or someone's left me for someone else, and I just can't seem to stop thinking about this person, okay? So again, remember, forgiving yourself. Continue to forgive. If you feel a thread where you feel really attached to something, forgiving yourself and realizing that that is part of something that's coming up in you, you recognize it, you validate it, and you move on. You see? So not being too hard on yourself either. Because this is really about recreating and rediscovering joy in your life. If we can't rediscover the joy in our life, then everything starts to become a burden. Everything starts to become heavy, and all we can see is, oh, if I could just get this, if I could just make it happen, and why isn't it happening? You see? Then we miss the magic. We miss the co-creative process. So as we detach from these things, it doesn't mean that we are not focused. It means that now, instead of trying to jump up and grab the 20th rung of a ladder, we're putting our foot on the first rung, because that's what's availing itself to us. And then the second and the third. You're climbing the ladder to your own success. And, I can speak as a pretty seasoned practitioner of the healing arts, and having my own clinic, having worked abroad quite a bit, that success for me wasn't an overnight story. And I don't even define my current situation as necessary. Well, actually, I define it as success, but I'm not looking at it arrogantly as though I've reached some pinnacle. I'm seeing it as part of the journey. And I'm enjoying the journey as the journey continues. I'm just watching as it unfolds. And then life starts to surprise us. We start to see and come into contact with different people that we never thought we'd meet. We start to experience things that are absolutely divine or very impressive to us, that life is giving to us as just a reward for staying the course. And that's actually my wish for every single person that's listening to this. Because the reason why I'm doing this is not for financial interests or just my own gain. I actually really, truly feel that the world is ready for a shift. Each one of us is ready for a shift. We're in a paradigm right now where the co-creative function within life has never been stronger. We have the ability to create new worlds of beauty, and it's right at our fingertips. But detachment is a huge part of that. And then ultimately, we look at the final step, which is commitment. So we've kind of been speaking about this throughout this whole framework. To be committed to something simply means that you are following through with the vision and you're staying dedicated to the practice of detachment, of gratitude, and then also understanding, which is you're understanding how the device is working, the Orgone Generators, the radionics devices. That's clear. It's just basically simple science. And then you're understanding how that neurophysiology in yourself works. And then as you start to tie all those aspects together, then commitment becomes simply the act of following through with what you already understand. So it doesn't mean that you're having to drudge forward even though you're not enjoying yourself. You'll always, within any kind of a manifestive course, and we could see this with virtually every very successful person, you can see very clearly that those people many times had things go left when they thought they were going to go right. And sometimes things would just fall apart altogether. But the one thing almost every one of those beings had in common, and has in common, is that there was always the outlook of, I wonder what this is going to lead me to. I wonder what's going to come of this. That sense of wonder, the sense of gratitude and joy within the journey is ever present. So that's sustaining the energy long enough to actually suddenly realize that it just comes out of nowhere. So sometimes something that you're co-creating with life, it may be that you've reached the end of your rope. It feels like there's nowhere else to go, and then all of a sudden there it is right in front of you, mysteriously. And I've actually experienced this myself. I've had this happen in living color in my own life, where something that was just seemed like it was a done deal, it wasn't going to happen, and of course remaining detached within that, feeling a sense of gratitude for life, you see. Even if the disappointment was there, still staying the course, staying in gratitude, and then all of a sudden, there it is. Or like I said before, perhaps something even better. What you'd hoped for maybe doesn't show up. Maybe that just wasn't in the cards. But then within that, you didn't even realize that what you actually wanted was something completely different. And it was even better when it showed up. So you're making an arrangement with the co-creative dynamic of life. And then you're staying the course. And in my current experience, there is literally no finer technology than the Orgone Generators with these powerful radionics functions to do exactly that. And as I said, if you go to orgonegenerator.com, you can read up on these devices, and you can really just, the one that's right for you, it'll call out. You'll actually feel it. You know, you're looking into it. Let it be a mystical journey for yourself. Look into it and feel it. You know, read about each device and then just see in your heart which one resonates. Nick gives absolutely fantastic customer service. He's really right on top of his game. And if you have questions, just give him a call. You know, he's really willing to share his knowledge, and he has a lot of really good knowledge about these devices and also about the co-creative process with life. I always feel very uplifted whenever I speak to Nick. So check it out and give him a call if you have questions. So I hope this has helped today, because my wish for you is that you be fulfilled and that your dreams come true, and that through those dreams coming true, we make the world into a better place. Not just some fantasy that we dream up, but actually start to work together and to find that this is actually a very beautiful world that we live, and that each one of us is truly a co-creator with life. So I'll leave it at that, and stay tuned for the next discussion on this cosmic law. Blessings.